Joining us now, Paula Jean Swearengin from the great state of West Virginia.
Hey,
how you doing, Paula Jean?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Great. Now, your primary is coming up in about 3 weeks. So after all this time, it's almost here. And you're running up against Joe Manchin, obviously, for the Senate seat. First, give me a sense of how the race is going.
It's going great. Early voting actually starts tomorrow, too. Tomorrow to May 5th, people can go ahead and get out and vote. We're ready to take this race home. I've been out on the road every day. I'm going to be out on the road until the primary date. I've been knocking on doors. People have been knocking on doors across the state. People are making phone calls. You know, the biggest challenge has been name recognition. A lot of people know Joe Manchin. A man walked up to me the other day and he said, who are you running against? I said, Joe Manchin. He said, I don't want to know anymore. I'm going to vote for you. I think a lot of people that are going to show up and see my name on the ballot and are going to vote for me whether they know my name or not. Here in West Virginia, it's been amazing, too, I have to say. I've met so many great candidates. It's not really blue no matter who. I think this state is ready to turn this state to the right color blue. We're hearing from a lot of candidates. They're talking about economic diversity. They're talking about clean water, clean air. They're talking about our future and they want to prosper. Everybody is really tired in this state. And we have, you know, this has been a national movement with brand new Congress and Justice Democrats. But I have to tell you here, from a local to a federal level, we have some real great people stepping up.
So, Paula Jean, you're the second person tonight to say something similar. Greg Edwards said, "Any old blue won't do,"
Right.
and I like that slogan a lot. So, Joe Manchin has been in the news a little bit lately, supporting Mike Pompeo to start the next several wars in the Middle East as Secretary of State. Paula Jean, I'm going to take a stab at this. I'm going to take a wild guess that if you were the senator from West Virginia, that you would not have supported Mike Pompeo.
Absolutely not. It's gotten to where it's ridiculous. Sometimes with the decisions that he makes, I wonder if he's trying to hand over this election. You know, throughout the campaign, he's photo ops with Donald Trump. He's made all these bad decisions, and he acts like he's proud of them. I don't know if it's arrogance. But I think West Virginia is about to show him what for.
John, you want to ask?
Paula Jean, this is John Arola. I mostly just wanted to say I'm incredibly excited for your primary. I know that you're obviously focused on what's happening in your state, but I mean nationally, I don't know if there's a single race that, if you triumph, will mean more in terms of what is happening in this country. Particularly you and your background, overcoming him and his ridiculous past and present, as we pointed out. But I'm curious in your primary. So Joe Manchin obviously is used to being criticized quite a bit. Is he acknowledging you? Is he engaging with you? How does he seem to view your candidacy?
A surrogate once at a candidates panel said that his opponent was against health care. How ridiculous is that? That's the only thing that's been said about me. I've seen him a few times. I've asked him to debate. We haven't really reached out for a debate, but I think we're going to. I don't think he'll have the guts to do it, but maybe TYT can challenge him a little bit too. Maybe we could have a debate on here. That'd be awesome. But
yeah, well, we've had both of you on.
That's a good idea.
I would love to do it. I'll
that would be great.
I'll ask him, no question.
It's funny as an advocate for the state and working for the state for years. Oftentimes, I've been called honey, baby doll, darling by Joe Manchin. When I announced my candidacy, I was called Paula Jean. I only had a name. So that's been pretty significant. I hope he starts calling more women by their name instead of pet names.
By the way, I got the date of the primaries a little off. It's not 3 weeks from now. It's actually closer. It's May 8th. So right around the corner. And as you pointed out, you can start voting. And so let's talk a little bit more about Manchin's positions, because it seems like he thinks he's got it wrapped up. I noticed he was being more careful earlier on, and now he's really pivoting right. And so are there any other issues that you've seen him turn right on recently?
I've not been following him as much, to be honest, as I've been trying to reach voters. My team has been following him a lot, but what I have noticed and what I've heard, he's polling to lose to a generic Republican. And the biggest thing that I've seen too that's worrisome to a lot of people here in West Virginia is Don Blankenship's polling second. I don't think that people are going to get behind Joe Manchin, especially because Don Blankenship's in this race. Because let's be honest, West Virginia is going to make history when Don Blankenship gets his butt kicked by a coal miner's daughter. It's needed. It needs to happen. There's still challenges. I still knock on some doors, and like I said, some people still don't know my name after I've worked so hard throughout this last year. But a lot of people do, and I'm the only senatorial candidate that is not taking corporate and corporate PAC dollars. I've challenged my opponent at a Blue Wave dinner to swear off corporate and corporate PAC dollars. He hasn't done that. I challenged Republicans too. But West Virginians are wanting a change, and it's been an amazing year. And when I went into this, I said, win or lose, the West Virginians would have their voice. And they have. I've been out into communities that felt like they've not been heard. I've give the issues here a national highlight. And despite what happens, we're going to move forward. I can't say I've made a decision on what I'm going to do if I do lose the primary, because I don't plan on losing it. But if I do, this is, I think, awakened me a bit. I'm not going to give up, because I know that West Virginia deserves better. And we are all waking up to the fact that we can run for office and we can bring changes to this state that we deserve.
Yep. Paula Jean, if you were to beat Joe Manchin and then Don Blankenship, well, that would be a hell of a sweet run. I mean, that would be, God, representing the people against those basically corporate powers. I mean, Joe represents corporate America in a lot of ways, and then Blankenship wants to just cut out the middleman and be like, let me just take over and make sure that I rig all the rules on my behalf for my company. So it's amazing that those are the guys that are in the race. And gee, I wonder who's for the little guy. I can't quite tell, right? It's obviously you. And so in terms of the amount of effort put in, I want to get a sense of scope of that, Paula Jean. So first off, how big is West Virginia? How many folks live in West Virginia, roughly?
I think it's a populace of 1.8 million.
Okay, so when you run for Senate, even in West Virginia, and I say even in West Virginia because like California is monstrous, like the 6th largest country in the world, but even 1.8 million people is a ton of people. So how many volunteers did you have, and so how much could you get out there, knock on doors, make phone calls, etc.? I just want to understand that process a little better.
We have volunteers in all 55 counties. There's a challenge here when you canvass and you knock on doors. Some areas it's really easy, but we have people living on top of mountains way up in hollers. So the outreach is different. Radio ads, newspaper ads. There's different ways to run a grassroots campaign, but it's been important to me. I guess we could have spent money on polling. But what's been amazing to me is little old ladies walking up to me on Social Security, giving me $5 and skipping lunch to invest in this campaign. I was in the Eastern Panhandle, and a gentleman in a wheelchair gave me $2,700. So
wow.
It's been a people-funded campaign, and people have sacrificed. This is one of the poorest and sickest states in the nation, and I know when somebody gives me that $5, it matters. So it's important to me to knock on as many doors as I can and work as hard as I can, because people have sacrificed so much for this campaign. You look at the movement with the public employees and the educators, it's kind of been the same thing. We've had so many people to unite behind this campaign, because it's not about me, it's about the people of West Virginia. When I go to Washington, I'm just going to be a vessel. I'm going to be a voice for the people in West Virginia, and they know that. I would cut my leg off for my kids. I've heard people say, well, what about the corruption? Once you get there, you're gonna adhere to the corruption just like any other politician. People that know me knows that I've been an advocate for this state for many years, spent my own money, and I would have not sacrificed like I have the last year to go to Washington and not serve West Virginia. This past couple of weeks, I've hardly even seen my kids. My youngest is 16 years old, and they've been weeks at a time that I've not seen him in the last year because I've worked so hard. And my family made a decision to sacrifice like we have because my children are not going to have a future. No child is going to have a future here in West Virginia unless we fight back as hard as I have. And there's people uniting behind this campaign fighting just as hard because we deserve it. And that's why we have people running for local office here because they're just as tired as everybody else.
All right, website is paulajean2018.com. I want everybody to know that, paulajean2018.com. To donate, which is important as Paula Jean was obviously pointing out there, justdemocrats.com/Paula2018. And to volunteer, paulajean2018.com/ it says #volunteer. So links will be down below if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook. Paula Jean, next time I see you is probably going to be on primary night on May 8th. So
yes.
Lots of hard work to get to this moment. Obviously, good luck. And can't wait for election night.
Cenk, I want to say real quick, even though we have a lot of support, you never can get enough support, especially campaigns like this when you're not running a campaign on $5 million. And, I don't sit around contacting funders. So we need boots on the ground. We still need people helping the next couple of weeks. Anybody that wants to invest, make 10 calls a day, or if they just want to knock on 10 doors a day, that would be amazing. We need all the help that we can get.
Yeah, and it's just May 8th, so let's push on through. Through.
And I want to say to you, too, thank you for all the support that you've given me since the beginning of this campaign. I thank so much of you guys. You've done a great job covering it.
Thank you, Paula Jean. We appreciate that. We're trying to give voice to progressives. So I appreciate that you put in all this blood, sweat, and tears and all this hard effort. And I think it's obvious to everyone watching who the progressive is and who the fighter is and who the person who's going to represent them is. All right. Thank you, Paula Jean.
Hey, thank you, guys. Have a great night.
You too.
You too.